Hello, chess friends. This is International Master Valeri Lilov, and today I'm going to talk to you quite a bit about a very interesting subject. I'm talking about the subject of attacking. You see, the thing about attacks is that a lot of people aren't quite well aware that everything, when it comes down to attacking, has to do with the way we build up a position, as well as the way we actually get ready or we get prepared for it. So, this is something that I'd like to share with you right now. So, let's talk about a couple things. See, first thing is that you need a structure. I'm going to show you a classical game that happened between McDonald and Le Bourdonnais, two incredible chess masters of the past, that ultimately shows what structure is in the most essential way possible. So let's talk about it. After the moves of e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, d4 exchange, recaptures, there was e5, trade, and then b takes to the c. So that once white played with the move of bishop c4, there was knight f6, bishop g5, and now bishop e7. Something that you get to see here is that it's not just the fact that white plays against the center, because he does play versus the, like the e4, which is pretty interesting. Well, we also have an opportunity to think about bishop b7. We also have the ability to think about d5. That is a great line. White now plays with queen e2. And of course, black breaks open with d5. Now, think about it this way. Pawns make the structure, not general pieces, pawns. What goes by the pawn structure is something that will eventually allow our pieces to follow up with. So this is a very valuable idea. After the move of pawn into the d5, in case white played with bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6, this is actually getting really exciting, very interesting. So, I mean, white could have played with the move of e takes to the d, so that in case of c takes to the d, bishop b5, bishop d7, and then obviously black's center is pretty incredible. Nevertheless, after the move of bishop takes f6 exchange, white decided to not let this happen and continued with bishop b3. Now, I want you to take a look at this position. Do you notice something? Yeah, everything is good for black. I mean, literally every single thing points to the idea that black's center, his control, and the possible development he is going for are all a part of an incredible position that is only going to develop and get stronger as it progresses. First thing, look at your pawn structure. If your pawn structure can guarantee you more space, more activity, and control, you want to do it. So black actually did go for the short castles move. White castled short, and then ultimately there was the idea of playing a5. Because what we get to see here is that there's going to be the move of a4 with which we could trap the bishop. But also we have the ability to play alongside bishop a6. So white exchanged. There's the recapture. Rook to d1. And then the move of pawn to d4. So what we suddenly realize at this point isn't just the fact that, these pawns are good. There's also the line of bishop to the b7. There's also the line of queen to the b6. And then there's also like the ability to play for a move of a4, which is so incredibly helpful. Now look at white. He's got a number of pieces on the back side of the board, but they really can't go all that far. On another hand, of course, there is, just black's easy development coming in, and it's perfect. It really is. With c4. Now, if you take a look at this, knight d2 is a possibility for white, but he didn't want to do it. I'm guessing the reason was because he kind of wanted to grow a little bit more of the space and activity by simply setting things up in this way. It was natural. It looked like a good idea. Is it good? I think so. So in fact, what you find out is that, just if white gets to go on with the move of bishop to knight of the c3, but in fact, so like there is going to be the move of knight c3 and then knight to the e4, and then ultimately another knight to d5. White's just jumping in or punching. So how do we play this? See, when you have a good foundation, things look really great. I mean, you don't have to figure out anything special or big. You already have what is needed, which is such strong center and good command. So the next thing in line is to make more development. The move of queen to b6 was a perfect move because it actually sets us up for the idea of a4. And we also have moves like bishop b7, being able to build up and set to both rooks into play. Bishop c2, bishop b7. Now, the center is great, the queen is good, and the rooks are perfect. But more importantly, the build up, helps us realize that challenge is just about to start. Something incredibly interesting about such a position. Challenge is just about to start. All right. Well, obviously, White's not feeling too good right now. He did not love the idea of, like of everything coming together. And so, practically after that type of a move, okay, what should White be doing out there? Well, after this type of line, okay, White actually continued. I mean, bishop b7, White played with the move of knight of the d2. And then surely it was about rook a e8. It's pretty important here. Think about it that way. We need pieces connected. And not talking about just one or two nice looking pieces. I'm talking about the way and how we could actually build everything in line so it can support and hold things together. It was good. This is how it starts. It does not start in some perfect looking version of the attack. It starts with gradual moves that allow us to come forward and arrange what we need. With e4 in the way, this is going to be beautiful. So now White's got to worry about things. He does have to worry about the idea of us taking up the space and possibilities on that side. He's got to have to worry about a bunch of things. Rule number one, create the right pawn structure. Rule number two, use the pawn structure to have your pieces connect and coordinate, to have your pieces really work out well together, and let them be relevant. That's all you need. Let them be relevant. Rook e8. So of course, then White plays knight e4. And then Black plays bishop to the d8 because we're also getting ready for a move of f5. We've got e4 to do. We've got the bishop to c7 and then e5. And so we could see the ability to like focus our forces. Now we have the bishop and the queen on that diagonal. We've got f5 as well as the e4, into play. And we do well. This is the most important. We do well. It looks just as good as it should be, if not even better. The most important thing you have to understand about these positions, though, is that in respect how you actually grow the development and each of those forces, it takes a little bit of time. Okay, so don't mind it, not at first. Now, once the structure is complete, we're really looking for a way to just connect the pieces. Connecting the pieces, getting them to be together, to work together, is essential. With that in mind, of course, White had to do f3, bishop e7, rook c1, f5. Here, king h8, bishop e4, H6. Now, you get to see something incredibly unique in that type of position. And what is unique is that, not just the black pieces are excellently placed. I mean, he does have a nice shot against the e4. We have also the opportunity to think about the bishop to g5 and all this. It's a really wonderful sequence. But what is good about that is that white has a kind of a problem, a real difficulty in the way and how, just his own forces can step. So he is a little off in his way. So let's see. Actually, right after this was done, white decided to play alongside. I mean, okay, so queen a4, queen h6, bishop takes the f takes the c6 was played out. He apparently wanted to, press and move forward with an attack. It didn't matter because then after c6, surely there's e takes f3, and then you could kind of realize the danger. This pawn is taking. We are having the ability to play moves like knight to the queen to the e3. It's wonderful. Take the time, build it, build, and then when the tactics comes, you'll be ready. Oh God, black has gotten right now so much more than white could ever dream to have, both in terms of preparation, and control. So right here, we have, you don't care about anything white will attempt. You really don't. So what do we do now in that position? Well, after that last move, white played rook c2, hoping to protect. And there is queen e3 check. And white plays king h1. And surely there's bishop c8. We're getting that bishop ready to go down to f5 or even g4. And so the idea ahead is that after white blocked it with bishop to d7, this whole point is that black plays with the f2, and we have that ability to line it. We got queen to the e1, and so we have that option. We have the pass pawn, the rook, and the queen ready and falling. So coming up against the opponent's possibility actually out there, so just is really, I mean, it moves against him and it challenges. So white has to do rook f1, d3. Take a look at that. This pawn here is just a killer. We're getting the resource. We're getting the ability to keep white down. And what is so exciting in terms of how it all works out is that, okay, white has a problem now. He played directly with the move of rook c3. Then there is bishop takes to the d7, pawn takes to d7, e4, and most importantly, after queen c8, bishop d8. Look at this. White is the one sitting down under attack and pressure. Every time when you can make your opponent to sit down back and defend himself, you've already achieved a significant advantage. You've already achieved it. Black has already achieved a significant advantage. In the sense, after bishop to the d8 was played, surely white has a big problem. He's got to do queen c4, but then there's queen e1, rook c1, d2. An attack, rook g8, and e3. It was so excellent. Now e2 is coming, and then it is perfect. The key thing about this is that, just everything in these type of variations is about attack. See, if you actually do not have an attack out there, it's not going to work. So right now in that moment, we have that ability to keep everything going. And so, for instance, after that type of move, surely we got that ability to follow up with an e4, and then of course the e2. It's if he takes on the e1, we're gonna take back, and it's just great, perfect looking, step by step, and it's really great. White actually ends up playing queen c3, which as a result sets black to have three pass pawns. Not one, not two, but three. And with those three, we're killing him. I love, you see, I really love the idea of using multiple different attacking resources. It's because when you are able to do that, the idea is, you know, you have so much more to show. So your position can bright, like you can shine so bright. But it was the effectiveness of each pawn or each piece that came out and became tremendous. Queen takes d2, f1, rook takes f, pawn takes f, and there was it. The attack came out incredible. What I love about this as a whole is just the beginning of the game, because you don't actually see some supernatural big attack. And it doesn't even look like an old game. It looks like a very natural, normal game, that we could end up doing. But it felt proper, felt real and relevant. So in that sense, Black was able to very, very effectively deliver these type of threats and the attacks, pushing White down and making him, like feel bad and have this constantly, like hovering pressure against the position. Now, what I like to do is I would very much like to show you another incredible example. Now, what am I talking about? Well, let me bring up another game. Again, very much of a classical one. For those of you who want to actually like learn more from these games, I do recommend you to check the link below the video. There's this incredible course by a very, very good teacher. He's a master level class player, and he explains a lot of the different concepts of how to lead an attack and how to basically, set the foundations right. It's only available for a few hours, so make sure you check it out. But the next example that I want to show you is also brilliant and quite important. It was ultimately played in again in the 19th century, actually. But the reason why it's so good is because we're going to see something quite hard to believe. Somebody who is attacking with his king on the third rank in the opening. And before you think I'm crazy, let me tell you that someone was the first world champion, Wilhelm Steinitz. Someone who was so hard on following the rules that it's almost unbelievable that he was able to break them. About that game, Steinitz Paulsen, Baden-Baden 1870. So after e4, knight c3, and f4, basically black captured the pawn. So white continued with the move of d4. It was an incredibly important move as it expressed a strong command in the middle. And then, of course, we have the ability to play alongside, just now we can think about knight to the f3. And then it's just we have that chance to think about bishop to c3. It's perfect. Very, very important. All you care to do in similar positions is to think about where or how you'd like to get those forces together. What was good is now even better. And then we begin. How does it start? Well, let's see it. After the move of pawn to the d4, black played queen h4 check. Now, of course, that sets up the first question, which is really why the hell is black able to do this check and force the king to move? I mean, it looks like a crazy move, honestly. So why? Well, because you have to understand that the reason for any attack to work or not to is really the ability for certain kinds of tactics, let's call it, to be available for a player who wants to attack. So, and by saying available, I literally mean the chance for a player to create threats. Like you see now, the whole thing is that black has the queen. Yes, indeed. He's got the pawn but he doesn't have anything else to back it up. I can't stress on the importance of a valuable development, but I can stress on the idea of a good control. Step by step, Black is actually going to be able to develop a very good control with each and every one of his pieces. Well, that's all he wanted. And surely after Queen h4, of course, there was the move King e2, d6, knight f3, bishop g4, bishop takes f4. You see, White has his king in the middle, but as we're going to see in the follow-up moves, it doesn't matter. Why? Because it doesn't. If White does not have the opportunity to create any real threats, if he doesn't have the development to do it, it's just not going to count for anything. And so we just say, all right, well, you can have the fine looking pieces. I don't care. What I care about is the center. What I care about is the development. What I care about is your development and the fact you stand back and behind. See, those things become a lot more important in this position than anything else that White is actually going to do or going to try to do. So, when Black trifles with long side castles, White even played King e3. Now, I'm not recommending you to play like this. I mean, don't get me wrong. I am not suggesting you take that king up and bring it out so that you can test your opponent and see if he's smart enough to checkmate you. Don't do this just like that. Take your time, be careful, and make a decision. If you're gonna go like that, that's fine. If you're gonna go like that though, or anything similar, make sure that your opponent does not actually have those forces and the development possibilities he is supposed to. That's going to be the key measure. Now, after Queen h5, Bishop e2, Queen e5, and a3, we realize that this is exactly what Black is lacking. He's lacking the middle, but most importantly, he's lacking the development. And as his pieces remain fairly backward and down, it just gets worse every second. So along the way, we have that a3. Now Black, of course, played bishop takes f3, king takes f3. I mean, that's weird. But then Black did queen h5 check, king e3, queen h4, b4, g5, bishop g3. Queen came right down, and b5 came through. Pretty amazing, if you ask me, mostly for the fact that none of the Black pieces have the resource to stand out. They're bad now. Oh, yeah. And more importantly, it's the fact that every single piece of Black feels off and away. With this b5 move, we can understand that it's all about just us taking a shot against the knight. And then, of course, there's also rook f1, which prevents him from playing with f5. Knight f6, king f2, knight g6, king g1. What's even more amazing is that now White is able to secure the location for his king. A really easy way to get the king out of the harm's way into a safe position. H2 is covered. We got nothing that Black can make or deliver. We've got f6 to work with or work towards, the f7 to attack against. Wow, big deal. See, it is key take things slowly in such a way. It is key that you prepare the position in a manner of that. But more importantly, now you can see how the game develops, and this is no nobody. Paulson was like one of the top grandmasters at the time. I know it was quite a long time ago, but he was a very strong and experienced player. So the very fact that he was not able to find a way to take advantage of it speaks in and out for itself. There was no potential. Everything that works with an attack is the center, the space, and of course, the potential that you got. After that, of course, the idea is that White plays Queen d2, Black plays with h6, and surely there's a4, g8, b6, which comes with a bang. we got that ability to think of or play alongside knight b5 in the next moves. So after black captured it, there was rook takes f6. I feel like I can really tell you about that move because the idea and the resource mostly comes with the with the think about breaking through an opening. Like now, if the black queen really just jumps in and attacks and takes the rook, we've got bishop g4 check and knight b5. Just enough power to keep the tactics going. We've got the queen that if it moves, of course, we're going to have that queen in the c3. And then we do have surely just the domination. So the domination is incredibly important in that sense. Every single piece that keeps the attack going, for white allows us to just step in there and move. And the truth is that apparently black is just going down. G queen h7. And now remember this other thing. See, if you want to succeed, you have to make sure that you're actually having two things. Good pieces, yes, they are important, but it's also good files that you need to open. See, files are going to guarantee you something that pieces can't actually quite do. Pieces are going to be ready to fight, but it is through the lie that you get the terrain, you get the different lines and the roads through which your pieces can follow and attack the opponent. That was something fairly brilliant here. You just get what is necessary, step forward into the play, and it's all we need. Oh yeah. Now what actually came into play is that after this, black plays f5, hoping to get the queen out. Otherwise, this pawn, I mean, even if you play with b5, that white pawn would have advanced up to a6. And you see, when you get the initial resources like command, more space, better control, and all those type of things, the next thing you need to be looking at is literally, like the chance to get more space and more control and everything. So, we what we got to do is we have to be able to, like to express more, like of this position of the challenge. So, okay, f5, bishop 8x to the b, 8x to the b. So what should white do next? I'd like you guys to think about this a little bit. What should be white's best way to go? So what to do now? Hmm. So the first thing that you got to understand about such a position is that when you are attacking, you really don't want to deviate. Anything you do that deviates is bad. Anything that you do to keep things going and plan on the area where things are is the most important. So setting things up with the move of knight takes to the b6 really made it come. We have the attack coming against the opponents, like just one. And then, for example, after that move, for instance, we have that line of playing with the move of, queen to c3. The deal, the real deal, yeah, is standing close. You have that chance to build open the files and to really look out for tactical ideas. And then as black played with knight to the e7, this was his actual move. The very next candidate was the move of e takes f5, queen f7, f6. Now knight c6, c4. What is also quite brilliant about this approach is the fact that white's able to essentially go down to c5. We've got pressure versus d6, the pin, even the two bishops. And it really kind of comes down to the most important thing that is valuable towards any attack: the development and the pressure. Especially the idea of a good pressure is what makes it all worth it. When you come down and like you start attacking or you start advancing with the c4 move, it's super important because of the idea of the c5 move because of the d6, and also because of the resources that black has to suffer by. Brilliant move, excellent opportunity. Black played knight a7, queen a2, knight b5. So he was really like going for it. He wanted to stop white from just doing things. But it doesn't matter because you can't stop an avalanche with just one blanket. Okay, so you can cover yourself, but it's still going to come on top of you. That knight is nothing. It's basically trying to cover one or two checks, but it's only a temporary type of solution to everything that's coming down to him. Well, there's knight d5. Queen takes d5 because the queen a8 is now pretty much inevitable. So you can't stop this. But if you think about it, it was all the long process of planning and preparation which really led white to that moment. And now when the knight comes to the d5 with the threat of queen a8, it's a disaster. Basically, black played alongside queen takes d5, but then he realized himself that this was a death situation. He couldn't possibly defend it anyhow. I love the direction. And I also like to show you that this is a game that introduces the idea that essential principles can sometimes go far beyond the idea of, oh, do I have a simple development or am I fast? Yes, these things do matter. But in terms of the long idea and ability for us to be able to achieve a fight to get certain things, we can create so much more. White was able to effectively build a restriction and, more importantly, keep black down and low. As those pieces actually came into play, White had a lot of time to build things up and really hold things strong. That was mostly due to the fact that black was down in the back, but also it was because of the fact that he didn't have a resource or a chance for a limitation of any sorts. So this was good and important. Sacrifice simply helped him to utilize to take away the only piece that stood as a good defense in front of black. And it shows that sometimes when you have enough pieces of stronger activity, all you really have to do is to deal with the main defender. That, and of course, a whole lot of beautiful tactics that tore his position down. So anyway, I'm very glad that I was able to share these examples with you, and I do hope that you learn a great deal from them. Don't forget to check the brilliant promotion that's actually being offered on the course below this video. It's by a very famous, very qualified teacher. And again, it's just he talks quite a bit about essential elements that you can apply in your own game too. So I would like to wish you a good night and a wonderful weekend. So I'll speak to you soon.